Hey, Webster's got a new 10-track album on the way, and it's one that I'm pretty excited to hear. What's up, y'all? I'm Devon here again for Obligatory. We do a weekly music news roundup on this channel every Friday. Today is January 12th, 2024. And yes, we are starting with Faye Webster, who announced her new album, and it's one that we've been looking forward to for a while. She's already released a couple singles from it, but now we have actual details around the record, and this announcement came alongside with the release of her third single titled Lego Ring, featuring none other than Lil Yachty. Now, if you know me, you know I love Faye, and you know I love Yachty. So this definitely took me by surprise, though I'm already learning that they've known each other a very long time. They were friends in middle school, which just goes to show what a weird place Atlanta is. Now, Faye has always had some really cool ties to hip-hop music, given her association with Awful Records, which was founded by the Atlanta rapper Father. Now, she was signed to that label for a period of time. She did release some music there, and that was really one of the early launch pads for her career. Faye's new album is titled Underdressed at the Symphony and is due March 1st via Secretly Canadian Records. Now, as I said before, there are two singles out already, Lifetime and But Not Kiss, both of which are great singles and were a little bit more of what I was expecting to hear from this album. Lil Yachty is going to be the only feature, though we did learn that she's been working closely with Nels Klein on this album, the guitarist from Wilco. I was a little slow warming up to Faye until she released 2021's I Know I'm Funny Ha Ha, which is just this uncanny blend of indie pop, alt country, and neo soul, all with super lush instrumentation. You can also play the online mini rhythm game for this project at legoring.com. It's titled Faye Webster's Sing-Song-A-Rama, and you can play a portion of the new single. Obviously ignore my pretty bad gameplay here. And then just because I'm thinking about it, shout out to Michigan rapper Babytron, who on the same day dropped an app game for his new album that's coming soon, 2 Mega. Also this week, a trailer has been released for the upcoming biopic on Amy Winehouse titled Back to Black. Amy is portrayed by Marisa Abela, who is best known for her role in the HBO series Industry, and she was also in Greta Gerwig's Barbie. So far, Back to Black has been without a confirmed release date. Fans appear to be somewhat mixed on the casting of this character. You know, I'll just say it, she doesn't really look like her. I try to think about a movie role like Malcolm X, right? Denzel Washington playing him. Didn't look like him. Really acted like and evoked the character. So I have no idea if this is going to be that kind of a situation or Anthony Mackie playing Tupac kind of a situation.
Hey, yo, check it out, motherfucker. I'm Tupac.
Fans also have a bit of trepidations on how they'll potentially portray her story because it's one of complex and intermingling beauty and tragedy. And it's one we saw play out not all that long ago, right? She passed away in 2011, but had very publicly struggled with addiction, physical and mental health in the years leading to that point. I will say, the casting of Jack O'Connell to play her husband is an absolute dead ringer. Now, I also have to wonder if any of the influential hip-hop figures in her life will be portrayed or acknowledged by this story. Namely, Nas, who she wrote songs like Me and Mr. Jones about, Salaam Remi, who really helped greatly shape the hip-hop aura emanating from a lot of her biggest songs, and Mos Def, who was also a dear friend to her. Now, if you're interested in her story and you haven't seen the 2015 Amy documentary produced by A24, I highly recommend that as a big fan myself. And speaking of A24 Studios, it was intriguing news when we learned last year that they would be bringing the Talking Heads' concert film Stop Making Sense back to theaters ahead of its 40-year anniversary. And that got even more interesting when it was announced that the group would reunite for the first time in a long time and would also be sitting down with Spike Lee for a Q&A at the premiere. And now it's just the gift that keeps on giving because we're seeing a trailer now for an A24 produced tribute album with 16 artists performing the 16 different songs on the live Stop Making Sense album. The teaser trailer features Paramore and a snippet of their take on burning down the house. And just how soon are we going to get this? Because this has already piqued my interest, but depending on who's on there singing what songs, I could get really excited for this. Now, as we mentioned at the start of this show, The Weeknd is working on some new music. Blinding Lights just became the first song to hit 4 billion streams on Spotify. That's absolutely nuts. The Weeknd also recently reconfirmed something we kind of already knew about the album, that it's going to be the last in a trilogy with the last 2 albums he's put out, 2020's After Hours and 2022's Dawn FM, both of which great albums. They've been really largely defined by the 80s influences and the synth pop soundscapes. I wonder if that's going to completely translate into a third album here, or if he's going to try to change that formula in any way. And then, like, one of these albums had no features, the other had some features. It had some narration by Jim Carrey. So what are the new bag of tricks we're going to get in this project? Is One O Tricks Point Never still helping out with this project? That sort of thing. Like I said, I'm a big fan of After Hours. I'm a big fan of Dawn FM. And I think that says a lot, given that I was one of Abel's staunchest haters pre those two albums. These two albums have really turned my idea of him around in totality. And so this is a third album that I'm excited to hear. And I kind of have no reason to think he won't drop another pretty awesome banger with this. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't think we'll have to wait but so long. All right, for this next story, it's going to get a little dark here. I'm going to try to move on from this pretty quickly. But Viper, the Houston-based cloud rap artist, has been arrested and was charged with kidnapping a woman and holding her against her will. I'm going to tread lightly here, and I do have sources linked in the description if you want to read more about this. It's just going to be some details I'm not really going to expound upon. For those of you unaware of his legacy as an artist, Viper has been an active rapper since like the late 90s, but it was in the late thousands and in the early teens where he really did become a progenitor of the modern lo-fi cloud rap scene. His 2008 album, You'll Cowards Don't Even Smoke Crack, is like the primary landmark of his discography and has been a cult classic, growing in reputation ever since. Now, I've never really listened to the guy, but I've for a long time known about him, and in my mind, it's always gone like this. If Lil B is a meme, if Lil B is a meme rapper, then Viper is a whole shitpost, whose real name is Lee Carter, like I said, was arrested on Monday and charged with the kidnapping of a woman and holding her against her will in his garage. So he is currently out on $100,000 bail, and he is awaiting some form of court. And if you want to read more about this story, I'm going to leave it there, but, you know, there's a little bit more to it. Trigger warnings, of course, link in the description. Next up, Skepta, the British rapper, apologized for and removed the cover art of an upcoming single this week. And we discussed Skepta in last week's episode. He was one of the many people to come out at the start of 2024 and just announce he had some new music on the way, including a single coming later this month. Now, this week, he posted the cover for the single, and in combination with the song's title, Gas Me Up, was pretty quickly drawing comparisons to World War II imagery, Holocaust imagery, and people were really taking exception to this. Now, from Skepta's side here, he's portraying UK skinhead hooligan football culture, which is different from white supremacist skinhead culture. It's a very different social and artistic movement that cropped up in the 60s and again in the 80s, but was eventually co-opted into the far-right neo-Nazi skinhead movement we see primarily in the US of the 90s. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether or not Skepta was really in the right or wrong on this, but he did apologize and he did announce that he would remove the artwork, but is standing on that he did not intend to depict anti-Semitic imagery in his art. Now, let's keep it in the UK real quick. FKA Twigs was recently featured in a Calvin Klein ad, which has now been banned by the UK's Advertising Standard Authority. Now, this photo in this ad was banned on the grounds that the photo focuses more on her revealing semi-nudity than the product that she's showing. And they also made the point to say that she's depicted here as a, quote, stereotypical sexual object. Now, obviously, she doesn't agree with this in this Instagram post that she shared. She says that's not inherently what she sees when she sees herself, even in a semi-nude fashion. And I mean, let's be honest, a stereotypical sexual object is a patriarchal phenomenon. So it is weird to me that she's punished or censored for this sort of thing. It's kind of a reinforcement in my mind of the thinking in that way. And she thinks, of course, that there's a double standard here, given that previous Calvin Klein ads, particularly with men, have not had this issue. And then finally, Soundcloud is reportedly pursuing a sale of the business this year. It's been struggling financially ever since before it was secured a 9-figure investment in 2017. Now, if you recall, there was speculation at that time about SoundCloud having issues and maybe potentially going away. And it was Chance the Rapper that took up the vocal rallying of support that eventually led to some people coming together with some money to basically invest in and save the platform. At that time, they had laid off 40% of their staff. And fast forward to 2024, in the last year or so, they've laid off 30% of the staff that they have. Stakeholders in the business are looking for an exit, and they have been attempting to raise the valuation on the company in hopes of selling it in like the range of $2.5 billion, which at this point is a bit of a lofty goal given the circumstances. They've done things like trying to sign artists to deals. If you remember in 2022, they signed a bunch of artists to their record label. They did this in hopes that one of these artists would have a chart hit or have a pretty decent career and again would raise the inherent value in the company. But I mean, you tell me if any of these artists from their roster on 2022 you know about. So if it sells, who buys it is a big deal. That can mean a lot for the company internally or where SoundCloud as a business and a streaming service is headed in the future. We'll see. And then we got the albums coming soon list of albums with titles and release dates that we have on the schedule for the year. Next week, it looks like our headliners are going to be the Glass Beach album that people have been waiting for a long time for, as well as a new Green Day album. And then really, as you look forward into the rest of the month, we have some good music to look forward to. And already, February and March are piling up with new releases. A lot of the stuff that was announced this week is coming February, March, and so on. And that's all we got for the news of the week. You already did us a big favor by watching to the end of this video, but clicking the like button is a great way to put us back in your feed, and it's a great way for us to get suggested to other people as well. Now, I normally say I'm going to be back next week, but I'm not going to be back next week doing the news video. I'm going to be working on something to try and release it at least on that Friday, maybe 1 or 2 videos here in the next week. So stay tuned for those. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to you. I'm Devon. This is Obligatory. We'll be back with the news again here later, and I'll holla at y'all then, all right? Thank you for watching.